We're gonna open meeting September 19th at the Energy Service Station. A little background noise. We got an event going on next door, so close the door out and try to hear ourselves. Excuse my voice tonight, it's not very strong. So first on the agenda is to just make any additions to, or changes to the agenda. And I see we got a couple things of minutes. We need to add that onto the agenda. Anything else? Having none, I'll need a motion to add the minutes approval.
I'll move.
Pierre made a motion to approve. Do I have a second? Phil. Pierre seconded it. Any more discussion? Having none, all those in favor of adding that item, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say nay. So we have now approved agenda with added minutes. And we'll start out with asking if there's some any public comments at this time in the public.
I'm going to do this under the public comment. My name is Sean Coleman. I'm with Northwest Regional Planning in St. Albans. Recently, Joey brought you a contract for us to help develop or update your hazard mitigation plan that's due every 5 years. So I'm here tonight just to talk about it really quick. I don't want to take up a lot of your time.
Okay.
This is kind of like kick off the project a little bit. The town's had a mitigation plan, Joey, about 15 years now, I think, when the first one we did. It used to be fairly loose to do the mitigation plan. Joey and I could do it with a couple meetings together, then we brought it before the select board and we could get you to adopt it. The rules have tightened up quite a bit since then. It's a little bit more involved now. There's about 12 pages in the mitigation plan, there's about 12 pages of required elements that FEMA wants every plan to have. We've been really successful meeting those elements with a little bit of pushback from FEMA over the years. I do a lot of these plans for a lot of the towns in Franklin and Grand Isle counties, so I've got a pretty good format, pretty good template to go. An update is fairly straightforward. We look at, within the plan itself, we look at all the projects, the priorities that the town had for reducing damages from flooding and ice storms. Over 5 years, what kind of the priorities are. Usually they're bridge and culvert, they're structural, they're generators, there's equipment upgrades. You put those in the plan. That's usually your action items. Once the plan is approved by FEMA and approved by the select board, that makes the town eligible to go after hazard mitigation grants that the state has. Right now there's about 4 different programs through the state and FEMA that the town could be eligible for if it has an approved mitigation plan. One of them is the FMA, Flood Mitigation Assistance, that helps the town help individuals who want to do home buyouts. Makes you eligible to apply for funding for that. It's called the Building Resistant Communities Grant. It's a large structures grant. It's about $1 million type projects for doing bridge and major road upgrades to reduce flooding damages. There's some smaller mitigation grants as well that'll help pay for generators and some equipment. Right now, Joey's done a really good job over the years, I think, for going after the mitigation grants. He does a really great job speaking, I call it FEMA speak. He knows all the terms that FEMA really likes, that they like to highlight and check and give you points on your applications. I know he's done a really good job with documenting damages following a disaster, which is pretty critical for FEMA to reimburse you for any expenditures from damages. And that's one of the other advantages of having a hazard mitigation plan. It helps you be eligible for reduced match following a presidential declaration. So Vermont has this thing called the Emergency Relief Assistance Fund, and the state will help cover the match from following a local match following a presidential declaration. So if you have $1 million worth of damages, the state will pick up 17.5% of the local match, and then or 7.5% of the local match, and you would have to pick up the other 17.5%. And Bethany, check my math.
No, I think you're good.
And then for $1 million, if the town has, as part of ERAF, if the town has road and bridge standards, hazard mitigation plan that's approved by FEMA, a local emergency management plan, and is a member of the National Flood Insurance Program, which you all are, then that cuts the match to 12.5%. So that's quite a bit of savings from the 17.5. If the town were to go on, I'm not sure if Enosburgh, if you have stream corridor bylaws, if you do additional protections along stream corridors as part of your zoning regulations, then that knocks the match down to 7.5% local match. So just something to consider. So definitely for the Halloween storm, I think that was your match rate, was the 12.5%. Because you had all four things in place. The mitigation plan is the thing that's most cumbersome to do. Just trying to hit all the check boxes for FEMA. So I'm hoping to this week or in the next 2 weeks to get together with Joey and whoever he thinks should be at the table, and we'll go over some of the priorities he would like to put in the plan. Just because they're in the plan, you know, if a disaster were to hit and if something wasn't in the plan, it doesn't mean you're not going to get reimbursed for it. Or if a situation changes, if there's something that comes up that you want to apply for a mitigation grant for, and it's not in the plan, that's fine, you can still apply. It's just having the plan that makes you eligible. And what was the other thing? I had another thing I was going to say about it, but I can't think of it.
Is the plan more specific? Is that why it's tighter? Is that what you mean?
The plan, yeah, like I said, there's 12 pages of FEMA checkboxes that I have to go through, that we have to take. They're really all about the planning process and making sure that you're engaging with every community group, and those of us that live in the communities know that we're all on the same committees that they want you to meet. So it's usually the same group of people that you're meeting with under different committees. So, when the program first started, the first plan that we did, the FEMA reviewers were from all over the country. Some of them had never seen snow, and they were trying to compare, like, say, the Berkshire hazard mitigation plan to the Seattle hazard mitigation plan, and saying, why aren't you addressing earthquakes? Why aren't you addressing hurricanes? Why are you so concerned about snow? So they've come a long way.
Okay.
And we've got it, I think we've got it, I know that with your plan, we streamlined it quite a bit last time. We're going to streamline it a little bit more and still hit all those check boxes to get the town eligible. And are there any other questions? I want to hit the planning committee too. I think that part of this process now, I think I'm going to try to meet with the planning commission, or members of the planning commission at least, just to try to engage them a little bit in the plan. My goal is to have a draft plan done in a month for the second meeting of October. I'm hoping to come back and meet with you, and hopefully you'll already have seen the draft plan, have you review it, hopefully by then, and maybe approve what we've come up with, what Joey's come up with, and whoever else has some input into the draft plan. We'll put it out for public comment for 30 days. And once that's done, then we'll submit it to FEMA for their approval. Then it usually takes a couple, maybe anywhere from 2 weeks to 2 months for them to get back to us to say, no, you gotta talk more about whatever. Or why didn't you talk about this? Or, you know, why do you have just volunteer? Like, one of the things that they used to ask was, why do you have just volunteer fire department? Like, why don't you pay all your fire, you know, pay full-time salary for a fire department, you know? And
Right.
just, they're not familiar with it. They weren't familiar with the law, but that's all changed now, so I think we'll be okay. We'll get it done in a pretty good manner. So I don't want to take up any more time with any other questions or.
Anybody have any questions, Sean?
If you think of anybody I should be reaching out to too, just let me know.
Well, you didn't do any intros either. Larry Jarvis, the chair.
Oh, yeah, yep.
Mrs. Pierre, the
Pierre,
vice chair. Phil Robintoy. Dean Wright.
Dean.
And Jessica Eagles.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. I've heard all of you.
I've heard your name
Talked
too.
to you on the phone. Probably saw you on Zoom a couple of times.
Okay.
But nice to see everybody in person again. It's been a while.
So this is part of that contract that you guys joined with NRPC for upgrading this mitigation plan. Used to be a little different. They could just directly do the work and then.
We used to be eligible for grants. The mitigation grants, we used to be able to just apply for them. We'd do like a big grant for a bunch of towns and get the funding, but we're not. You can't do that anymore. They knocked out some of the criteria that paid us for our time isn't eligible anymore, so we can't do that. They do make funding for towns to apply for. I think Billy John, I think you and I talked about whether it was worth it, and I don't know. I think personally, I think this way it streamlines it quite a bit. Just doing direct contract. I think we can get it done quickly. We have a good template to do it in. I think if you go with a grant, then there's more requirements that would have to follow. I think it would take a lot longer to get done. So I'm just trying to be efficient about it.
Definitely appreciate that.
Yeah. I think it's easier. I think this state has a lot of money. I think they'd like to see used, but I don't know if it's in interest of time, to try to get it done. So tonight's meeting right now the town is not, the ERAF rate is at the higher rate, but tomorrow morning or tonight when I get home, I'll notify the state hazard mitigation officer that we've started to engage in the planning process. And then if there's something, if we have another Halloween storm, heaven forbid, but if we do, then you'll be covered because you're actively engaged.
Yeah, we still got ERAF funds that we haven't gotten yet from the Halloween storm, so. We got one project we still gotta finish up and I can't get a contractor to do yet, so.
Right.
Got another time extension until the end of next year, so.
And they had knocked the match, the Biden administration knocked the match to 10% for everything during COVID.
Yeah.
So the Halloween storm was included in that, so you got noted. I think I sent out a couple of emails about it, but you probably heard from Ben and Kim.
They sent a contract amendment.
Oh, good.
For us to sign, and we sent it back. But
yeah.
We haven't got that yet either, the additional percentage.
Montgomery just got theirs last week, and they had issue. They were trying to put them at the higher rate again last week, and so we had to dig through and find the road standards. They were saying that they didn't have, but Montgomery had passed them like that in December following the Halloween storm, and so they allowed it and they got the lower rate. So yeah, definitely keep an eye on those emails.
Yeah, I sent an email the other day just questioning what the status was on that. And
yeah.
We got a large project. It was a large project turned into a small project, but anyways, still called a large project that we're waiting on too, so that looks like that's coming soon.
Yeah, that's good, great.
And then the ERAF, you won't get any of that until everything's complete.
Everything's complete,
that one
but it starts, you gotta get everything done 30 days following a disaster. If you don't, or you have to start giving them some assurance to get it done. They're tightening down quite a bit because the Halloween storm, we had probably 5 or 6 towns that didn't have mitigation plans, so I cranked a bunch out really quickly, like some draft plans, and they allowed it, but they said they're not going to do that anymore. Like, you got to be engaged before the storm, the big one hits. So.
I'm surprised they didn't, with everything changing, there's still 5 years, like it's still a 5-year plan. They haven't.
For FEMA, yeah.
Yeah, okay. I was thinking like maybe they would cut it back to like 2 or 3 years, like updating things.
Yeah, well, you can update it any time in the 5 years,
okay.
But after the 5, they want in 5 years you got to go through the adoption, review and adoption process. But you can update it any time, and I think the plan even says following every storm. But I honestly don't know that anybody even looks at the plans after they're adopted.
Right,
maybe.
it's for the.
You know, Joey
end
does,
result,
I do,
yeah.
a few
Yeah.
people probably do, but,
Yeah,
you know, certainly it'd be good practice to have somebody have their eyes on it at all times to update it, but. It also is it's a good tool too to look at what you've done. The plan lists all the past mitigation efforts that the town's done over the years. So it's got a nice record, it's got a nice historical record for the town too, to see how far the town's come.
Are you still on the planning commission? So it's,
I'll see you again.
Oh, so you're, oh, okay, great. So yeah, I should talk, yeah, we should get together. With your-
Yes,
with your
and
crew.
Shaylee Draper, she's the chair of the planning commission, so I'm sure you'll hear her name when you start.
I think it was Bethany or Greta from our office gave me Shaylee's name, but, so this is specific to Enosburgh Town. The village doesn't have a plan. It's just for the town, so I didn't know, I know that it's a joint commission, so I didn't know.
Yeah.
I was hoping to just get people from the town. Certainly the village, it's open if anyone wanted to attend, you know, it doesn't matter where they're from.
Yeah,
but-
we can chat, because
Cool.
I can see who the members are and take a closer look at that. I'm sure Billy Joe has all of that information too.
Okay.
And then I think they meet I think it's been like once a month or as needed.
They've been meeting as needed.
As needed? Okay, great, then I'll try to get with them soon,
Okay.
this month, within the month.
I say it's easier to Sean, Jesse Woods on the
Yep.
zoning.
Yep.
So if you wanna email me to Sean.
Okay, great, yeah, I'll do
I've
that.
been kind of a liaison with those guys too. so-
Okay, I
Yeah.
wasn't sure, Jesse, I knew
Yeah.
the DRB and everything, but okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, then we can talk about, like,
Right.
I'll bring some copies of, or I'll send you guys copies of the plan, and then we can look at it and
Yeah, great,
get
thank
the
you.
engagement going, alright?
One of the other questions I just had, Sean, I was on a Zoom, I don't know, a month or so ago, and they talked about FEMA was updating the flood maps, and that kind of stuff. Is that gonna change anything as far as the plan? Or, you know, it sounded to me like it was some of the FEMA flood maps were gonna be, it wasn't just gonna be the major rivers anymore, it was gonna be a lot of the smaller, they were gonna look at some of the smaller
Mhm.
tributaries, so I didn't know if that was gonna affect anything.
It is, yeah. It will affect.
Yeah.
It's going to update the flood, they're going to update the mapping, the flood insurance rate maps that they use for flood insurance. And I'm not sure how it's going to go. I mean, some people that might have been paying for flood insurance might be out. Some people that haven't been paying for flood insurance might be in. I'm not really sure how it's going to look. I haven't been directly involved in the meetings with FEMA. I believe Dean from our office.
Dean and Greta
Dean.
are keeping track of it.
Yeah, and they're going to do some outreach for the zoning administrators and what the implications are. So you should be hearing from Dean and Greta about that. It's not like my area of expertise, but they've been attending the webinars and meetings. But yeah, I think it's definitely something to keep an eye on. It was initially, our region was the last, I think they started, 10 years ago, updating all the flood insurance rate maps for the state, the flood insurance studies, and we were the last kind of intentionally to go to kind of hope that all the kinks in the system were worked out by the time they got to us. Initially, early on, that was a huge problem that they had, and I'm not sure how it's being addressed, if it's really going to be an issue. I don't know, but for sure you want to keep an eye on the latest. And Dean and Greta, I'm sure you know that.
Yeah.
I assume Sean will be invoiced for your services when everything's done.
When it's all done, yeah, I'll just do a lump if that works for on your end. What was it? I was going to say the flood. There's a lot of flood buyout money too. I always mention this. I went around with FEMA and Vermont Emergency Management. They asked me to join them and kind of be their tour guide of the county following the Halloween storm when they were looking at all the residential damage. There was FEMA, VEM, and Small Business Administration had a couple of representatives, and they go through their little formula or whatever, their check boxes for assessing damages and seeing if there's enough money to do an individual assistance declaration for individuals and families, stuff beyond what their insurance would pay for. And there wasn't for the Halloween storm. We did something similar for the flooding along the Missisquoi River in 2018 in Swanton and Highgate. And one of the things that I heard a lot of, and I mean, it's nothing new to you too, but the people that would be eligible for flood buyouts, most of the people weren't interested because they couldn't afford to move anywhere with the buyout, with what the buyout was offering, and there isn't a place for them to live. You know, where are they going to move to? And a lot of the people along the river, especially, they're like, why would I give up? You know, flooded one time, why would I want to give up this beautiful spot in the river? Some people, I think, elevated their properties to get out of the floodplain. So I thought that would be something more people would be interested in the flood buyouts. And and then in Enosburgh too, we met with a few families, and you know, I think just the lack of affordable housing, I think, just prevented them from wanting to do anything or go anywhere, even just be willing to take the risk of.
So if there was a buyout, who would get the ownership?
The town would be the lead on it, and there is a match that goes with it. Usually the match is done with in-kind services. I believe it's a 25% match, so it would be like raising the house and getting rid of the foundation, you know, shutting off the well, cleaning up the septic, all that. And then the land gets placed into a conservation district, not to be built on again. That's typically what happens. And what I've heard is that a town could use ARPA funding for match for buyouts right now, and the state has funding to help with the match as well through their ARPA funding. So there's a lot of great money available for mitigation work, and it's just you know, having the time to apply and putting in your grant, doing project management of it. But it's a really good time to be looking at all the programs. I'm sure Joe's, like I said, he's all over it, so I don't really worry about Enosburgh too much.
Oh, good. Any more questions for Sean?
All right, thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Nice to seeing everybody.
Thank you.
See ya. See you.
Take care. Good seeing you. All right, Beth.
Alright, so the next item we're gonna move to would be Bethany Remmers with a TAP grant.
Yes, so here to talk about the sand and salt shed. I was here in June when we tried to regroup a bit after the second time you went out to bid and didn't have enough funding to accept any of the bids to construct. At that time, I raised the possibility of being able to get additional funds through an old earmark that was tied to the Missisquoi Bay Causeway removal project. And so finally was able to get the meeting with V-Trans to talk about that possibility. Actually had that meeting, kept getting delayed, but got it in on Friday. Where we looked at a whole suite of projects that we had originally identified for that money back in 2018 through 2020. The salt shed at that time was looked at, but we kind of put it off the list because at that time you had enough money, at least on paper. But we refreshed that list of recommendations and we put this project, closing the funding gap, as one of the top priorities for us for the funding, for using that earmark. And it was very well received by the folks at V-Trans that we're meeting with, in their decision makers. So I'm feeling pretty good that could be an option. I can't promise anything because this is, dollars that will have to be included in the annual transportation bill through the legislature that V-Trans will have to program in and has to get approved. And then it's effective July 1. So you're already seeing some of the complications with this. But I think that the risk at this point, the risk reward is enough that my recommendation is for the town to proceed and have Du Bois King revise the bid docs and the plans to get ready to release a bid November, December time frame. You know, I'm continuing to meet with V-Trans. We have another meeting scheduled for next week to kind of continue to talk through this. But the reality is, we're not gonna have a 100%, this is 100% going to happen in order, we can't wait on that to then get to Boy & King to get ready to release the bid.
Right.
But I'm feeling fairly confident that that it's worth proceeding with Du Bois & King. Second page of the packet I gave you, it's on the second page. You see the amount of $7,250 is what they're looking to take this project through the bidding process again. That would include removing the standing seam roof and getting the specs all in for the corrugated metal roof. And then it also includes releasing the bid, keeping track of all the bid holders. Once the bid's coming in, doing the bid analysis that's required. That $7,250 is an up to amount. It's not a lump sum, so they would have to be billing actual expenses. So if it costs less, they can only bill what they spend. So that is my recommendation on that front. I've communicated with them over the summer. They gave me this proposal. I let them know that you couldn't make a decision on that until tonight, but they're ready to get moving on that. If you decide to approve. So that's one thing. I don't know if you want to talk a little bit about that. Then we could go back to the causeway money. Or if you just want me to jump into the next items.
So for the bids, Bethany, I don't know if this was with you or we talked about breaking it out to the cement separate and the building separate. Is that still that way or not?
So we've gotten clarity from V-Trans, they won't go there. And
They won't?
they will not go there. And I actually, when I re-asked that question after our meeting in June, they resent me. I guess they answered that back in the spring and missed it. It was buried in a bunch of other stuff.
Okay.
So they feel that that's not going to happen. And I know you also, like, on the one hand, we were feeling like that could be a real great option. On the other hand, we were questioning, is it the way to go?
Mhm.
So they answered that for us.
Okay. Good.
So with the causeway money, again, we don't know what the bids are going to come in at. On the table, I was kind of playing with, based on the lowest base bid that you got last year, adding 5% on top of that, adding in the doors. But we don't quite know. So in my workings with V-Trans, what I don't want to happen is us to have to say an exact amount and then constantly being in this case of, I feel like as a town, you've gone, okay, we think we're gonna have a shortfall. Okay, we can go get grant money to cover that shortfall, but by the time you get an answer, you're already behind.
Right.
So I'm hoping that there'll be some flexibility that we can just be like, we think it's gonna be this, but we want enough to close the project, and we won't know that until bids come in. And another item I just wanted to mention as far as, what we do in the meantime as we're getting ready to go to bid, and get as concrete with this funding as possible, is making sure that, I hate to mention it, but you'll start building next year's budget, probably not too far
Right.
from now. So making sure that you are building in the match that you need to draw down the funds that you already have.
Right.
And I know that was in last year's. But then also with this extra money, we'll call it the causeway money, it is federal dollars. It does need to be matched. V-Trans has been looking at it and starting to work with the Clean Water Board to see if the Clean Water Board will match their state dollars for these funds. That's not a guarantee. There's a possibility, and we continue to push for that, but I think I would like for you to be safe, and if you're getting an extra, let's say $400,000, making sure that you are able to come up with a local match in case.
So you're talking, it'd be 200 we'd have to match. So 50, or not 400.
No, so if we're getting $400,000, it would be 20% of that would be coming from local, so 80,000.
Oh, it's a 20% match.
Yeah, 20% match.
Okay,
Sorry if I misspoke my numbers.
I might have missed it.
So the last time this went out to bid, you mentioned the standing seam versus the corrugated. Will that make a big difference in the bid?
I mean, I don't know much, but I know that standing seam is a lot more than corrugated. But what we don't know, because of how the bids are released, it was just one lump sum for the whole structure.
I see, so you don't know how it plays.
Yeah, so we don't know X amount of dollars is over.
Yeah.
And then the thing is that how do you, and using the term, standing seam, we all kind of know what that looks like. But when you use the term corrugated metal, what are we gonna be looking at for a definition on that?
So as part of D&K's work, they'll have to actually put a specification in, and so that's what's really important. I think, making sure that you and Joey, are comfortable with whatever spec they put in.
Same stuff sticks and stuff fell.
Well, no, but
We
the
don't
thing
want
is,
something imported from China or,
Right, but
coming
the-
from there, and only start with it.
but the thing is that, is the corrugation, see the difference?
Yeah, I was assuming it was gonna be the top. Joey, what did you think it was gonna be?
I hope it ain't.
The most stuff I see is the second one.
Is the
The
bottom
second one, okay.
Yes, but, and that's why I was, if you happen to talk to them, but,
So it's like one sheet of steel with just 2 ribs on it, and it's.
no, there's 5 ribs. I didn't draw the rest of it. See, the other one is called the corrugated, that's one is corrugated 78.
Okay.
What's the difference? Is it different
Different.
gauge? Different gauge? That's probably how they'll have to.
No, there's, it's just different profiles.
Yeah.
One's a little less expensive than the other, by a lot.
The bottom one that you
Yes.
drew, you said that was corrugated 78?
No, the top one,
Okay, and what's the one
78.
that you actually want?
and it would be Americana,
Americana.
and then Canadiana on the sides.
Okay. Joey, when?
I'm just throwing it out. But that's a Canadian company. Is that gonna make a difference? Or we're gonna have to go with American?
Is that American, right?
I think so.
Well, we can always ask for leniency on that.
Well, there must be a company that makes the same thing in the US. There's some,
ABC,
could be.
they just want more money.
Just have to buy it from Poland instead of States.
It's not good, that's it.
So, and this is something, if there's any language, and Joey, do you feel like you have a grasp on what should be there as far as helping communicate this to?
Yeah, I don't know
I'll get together.
the terms of the steel, but I would, I recognize the drawing.
And the
What
thing,
you're talking about, I've seen the stuff, there's just continuous ribs, and then most of the time you see the rib with a little flat area in between the ribs, your 5 rib steel, at least 36 inch or whatever.
and I'm happy, like, if you have a moment, we can just schedule a quick, 15-minute phone call conference with D&K before they even start revising the plans.
Might save them some time if we
Yeah.
specify this is what we want.
And then they can give us that feedback of, oh, well, if we specify it that exact way, then you might run into issues as far as sourcing with Buy America, but they might have some back and forth, that would be helpful.
Okay.
What are the advantages to compared to the 78?
Cosmetics, probably. That's really all it is.
Top one's cheaper than the bottom one.
No, top one's more expensive.
Really?
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That right there?
Huh.
Contractors gonna use the bottom one.
Is it because of the extra ribs?
Yeah. The extra is all right.
It's more steel.
Yeah.
every rib, there's more. You know what I
Less
mean?
surface
Even though
area
it's
for
laying-
stuff to stay on and rust out too probably.
Even though it's laying 36 inch, used up, probably
You need a
30 as much steel. as it
5-foot piece to
lays
start with rather than 4-foot piece.
back. Crunch it up.
The other thing I'll mention with the causeway money is that has to get programmed into the T-bill, which goes into effect July 1st. So, you know, in general, like thinking about this goes out to bid, you know, construction is going to, you know, extend through the summer, but working with Du Bois and King to be strategic about what do we have to put into the bid package as far as, you know, dictating that. And it's not necessarily from a cash flow perspective because this is a reimbursement grant, so you're gonna have plenty of work and you have plenty of grant funds that you could be drawing down at first, existing grant funds to be using. But if we have $400,000, that's,
So if we request for 400, but we only need 200, is that what you're saying? So then our match would be lower or?
I was saying more from so if the money is only available July 1st,
Yeah.
and if it's specified, what we have to find out is whether it's just that it's not available until July 1st, or if it's only eligible for work
Oh.
that's done July 1st and beyond.
And beyond, okay.
And so that's what we have to get specification on. If it's a cash flow thing, then there are other ways around
But we
that.
could do the whole bidding process before, but no work starts till after and still be eligible, or?
Yes, or even, and I don't know, what I don't know is how you frame this, is if you specify in your bid is that, you know, work can start effective June 1st, but half, like, a quarter of the work has to happen after July 1st. I don't know how you do that, this is where we really need Du Bois and King
Yeah.
to help craft that.
Gotcha.
Because I don't think that you want to say in a bid, you know, going out to bid this November and saying you can't start until after July 1st. I don't know, how would contractors react to that? What do you think?
Yeah.
I think you're gonna thin out the pool even more.
But you don't,
Possibly could, yeah. Depends on what kind of a deadline they
I
have.
think,
at
you
the
know, if
end.
you do any, drag your feet and say the site's not ready, we're not ready. It's one thing to do, but don't tell them that. On purpose.
yeah.
Yeah.
Probably is about June though before he could be even ready, because you got mud season, you're gonna try to get through, then you're trying to get all your dirt roads fixed up, and
Yeah.
it puts you out through May anyways.
That's probably how much we're involved in it, but other than
Right.
doing the sand pile, I mean, what's left for sand? Well, got that to do for sure, but
You know, given our season and given that this is actual construction
Right.
project, we know it's not gonna finish up before July 1st.
Right.
But it's just a matter of how does that get crafted, how does it get put
right.
in a bid.
Yeah.
So that's one complication.
Like I said, depends upon probably the deadline too. If they can't start till July 1st, but they gotta be done by December 1st, well, then you're narrowed, they gotta get it done. Or if you just leave that other end open, as long as we can put sand in there and use it, they can be doing cosmetic stuff, siding,
Right.
closing up the jets, whatever they gotta do on the outside, as long as they're not in the way. But
And again, it's not
contractors
all,
work all winter nowadays, so
yeah,
they don't bother them.
it's not all the money, it's a portion of the money
Right.
that wouldn't be available. So it's just thinking about the best way to go about that. But it's definitely very promising. And I don't think there's, you know, we've already been told, don't come back to the TAP grant or the highway mitigation for more funds.
Right.
You've been cut off there. The other place that we were thinking about is the Clean Water Service Provider funding for the Missisquoi. You know, applications will be opening up for that. Whether a sand and salt shed would be competitive, I don't know. But that is another avenue. But I think that the causeway, if we can make it happen, is the best fit.
There wouldn't be anything with the wild and scenic Missisquoi funds available.
They just don't have, I mean, they just don't have a ton of money,
They don't.
you know?
I knew they had
Even
something
though they're
there.
federal, with the delineation of the Mississippi being,
Yeah, I mean, their budget, what, the project that they've been able to fund have been like, you know, a couple $1,000s here, a couple $1,000s there, thus far.
Yeah.
It hasn't opened, you know, they've been doing some nice projects that's just been smaller scale.
So the other grant funds we got available, and if this causeway money was a possibility, how much would the town put into this with the match that's required?
So all told, or additional match plus, all told, you want all told?
Say the grant money that we have plus the causeway money covers 80% of the cost, total cost.
So we were originally looking for something around $160,000, $180,000 that we were gonna have to pony up as a
Right.
town.
Right.
And last I knew, that was over 300,000 or something.
Yeah, so, and I have a little bit in this what this table shows is that what you
Okay.
have left in the blue box of the table at the bottom is $186,707 was the match that you needed to be able to draw down the rest of your grant funds that you still have. And then based on and this is a little bit, and then essentially, you would be responsible for anything above and beyond that 100%. So I think last time when we were in June, based on last year's bid, that was like $360,000
Yeah,
extra.
thinking, yeah, somewhere's in there.
So what we're trying to do is get enough additional grant funds, so even if you're paying that local match, you're paying the $186,000 that you've already committed to for the grants that you have, and then about an $80,000 more
Okay.
in local funds to be able to use $320,000 of
Right.
Causeway dollars.
You'd have to, the 80,000 would be our match for.
Yep, if you're looking at $400,000 extra, 380 from a grant source, 20,
But if the
320.
bids miraculously came down less, you would only have, you'd match
Yes.
whatever the difference was. If it was 200, then our match would be significantly different.
Yes, yeah, yeah.
40,000, yeah.
If bids fall.
I understand. I just
Yeah.
devil's advocate hoping. But yeah, I've definitely seen how the world's been reacting the last 2-3 years. It's not downhill. The prices.
All right, so I'll move that. We do the 7,250.
Second.
Revisement.
So I guess the motion was approve an amendment for $7,250 for Du Bois and King contract amendment for roofing material. The motion was made by Pierre and seconded by Dean. Accept that part of the document. Any more discussion? If we don't have any more discussion, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. So that's that part, so now we should make a motion for Causeway, or we don't need to, because that don't have to have an amount, or
Yep,
that's already been asked.
yeah, that, we made the request, and so there's nothing that town has to do at this point. And I'll keep you in the loop as, you know, again, meeting with them, hopefully another next week, and then continue to get that firmed up. So when there's a point where the town has to say, yes, we want to do it, we're going to use the money for this project, I will engage.
Okay.
But just, so Du Bois and King, I didn't read their list of what they did for, because I know we had an invoice, it was like the number 15, that was like right after the first of the year. And I think number 16 comes through like at the end of January. And then 17 comes through in March, so I guess my question is, we put this thing to bed in January. So what are they, and I didn't read what they had been doing, but,
Yeah,
so
and
what have they been doing for that?
so they've, The March, they've been behind on all, like, the last 3 invoices, even though they're dated, they came all at once. So they finished up their bid analysis and did all of that, and then they sent us the back.
Okay.
And so as far as their fees for the last, for 14, 15, and 16, or 15, 16, and 17.
Yeah, I guess those are the ones that I would remember the most.
That was primarily working through the bid analysis and then the follow-up questions and coordination that the town had
Okay,
with the bids.
okay.
Right.
Yeah, we did talk about, and some stuff did go back to them for their revised revisions or whatever.
Yeah, and then again, like, I don't know whether it was number 1 or number 2 bid. You know, but both times, we weren't in agreement with proceeding with the bid.
Mhm.
So there was some, back and forth with that.
Yeah. Just questions, just
No,
because we put it to bed the end of January there, so we're not dealing with it anymore, but the invoices keep coming in from them, it's like.
yeah, and so the,
working on.
yes, and some of this work was stuff that they've been doing, and they've held off on billing, and at least was then closing out their contract that they had.
I hate to see this project come to an end.
I think they will.
It's still a little full.
Yeah,
So you need me to sign this one then?
if you could, and that won't be your official contract amendment, but I'm just letting them know that, yes, get to work, please.
Oops.
This causeway money, Bethany, is there a
You have one of
timeline
these?
when we would know on that?
So we will know
Yeah, I kind of.
in November
There's a print-
when
there's a-
V-Trans starts
I printed-
working on,
I signed
they put their
the
proposed
print,
budget
so I know.
forward.
Okay.
We'll know that it's in there, but we're gonna be communicating with them well before that, because there's another project that we're seeking supplemental funding to get that project to construction. So we have these, you're time sensitive, this other project is time sensitive, and then we have like 3 or 4 other projects that we are recommending for this funding, as a package. So, I would say if I could be coming back late October, if at latest in November. And certainly because, I want to be back here in front of you before the bid gets released, just so we can work out. Because at that point, I'll have to be able to tell you like, yes, it's absolutely, it's certain, or it's in the, proposed T-bill. We think it's moving forward. Do you want to go out to bid, or are we holding this bid for a little bit?
Or maybe the funding wouldn't come through by chance, like, is that still a possibility?
Anything's a possibility, that's why I'm not saying it's 100% guaranteed.
Okay.
But
Yes,
it's,
because without that funding, we wouldn't be able to, or would that just be to look at again? I mean, we're really needing that funding for the project.
unless you think that the town has the appetite for
Okay.
for putting going out to bond is another option,
Going out to bond.
to borrow the money.
Oh, gotcha.
I think if we went to
Okay.
that route, it means we could build it ourselves cheaper. And that money for bonding would be more purposeful of putting on highways. My opinion. Just let the board know too, that we also have a request for funding from Bethany that I'm signing and giving back to part of the project funds coming back for 688331.
That's just a reimbursement request number 6 for the project.
That's what we'll be getting back, Bethany.
No, you will be getting 80% of that back.
600.
Faster than I can pull up my calculator.
Oh, don't worry, I did it earlier, that's how I knew it. I didn't do that in my head. I could take that credit, but I didn't do it.
Is there a better time than others to put bids out? Just by contractors either being hungry or not
Didn't
having
we
their...
talk November, no later than middle of November, or?
Get too late, they got their year all planned or filled up?
What was the first time we tried?
Oh, we've always tried for November, we just never hit it.
Yeah,
First one might have come in June or something.
last time was January.
Last time,
January.
Time
January.
before that was February, March.
Yeah. So we keep moving, keep getting
Better.
better.
So the boys and King, they gotta have that hashed out by the end of the week.
It shouldn't be very hard. Well, the one thing is in October, they did mention that October there will be new language to put in the bid documents. So it's that they will do the bid document piece in October because they'll have the finalized language. They won't have to revise it again. But the plans and getting that roof issue, how much specificity we're gonna have in for that corrugated will be important for us to work on now.
Yeah, hopefully that doesn't turn out to be complicated, but it should be pretty. Should be.
We might have to have some borings done in order to see if it's feasible.
Excuse me. Any more questions for Bethany? My throat is really starting to scratch up. Might have to step out and cough and all that.
Thank you.
While you're here, Bethany, I don't know, maybe we can talk about, I don't know what's next on the agenda. I know it's not you're not the center of it, the contract with NRPC.
Oh, yeah. That's up to,
Excuse me. Now, if you got something when you're here, it's better to put it in front of us right now.
Yeah. Did you have that, Lily Joe, or do they all have one, or? It's a contract,
I've not seen this.
no?
Well, I think it's a good thing we had Sean here earlier, but it sounds as if what's pounding outside.
yeah, it's official, it was on camera that you guys are starting the
It's
process.
sounding like flooding territory the way today's been going.
So this municipal roads general permit work, and the grants and what they call the grants and aid, money that we get every year to do sections of roads. Along with that, NRPC, usually Bethany, puts quite a lot of time into the sites before she does the work. She comes along and tell her what we want to do and where we're going to do it. She takes photos, so there's some documentation work that goes along with it. So now I guess, well, Bethany can probably explain it better, but NRPC is looking for $1,000 to take up some of that cost of their time, because you can't directly get it through the front grant yourself, right?
Yeah, we used to have just a one master grant from the state to help all of our towns do the grants and aid, do all the documentation that they needed to implement. And then since V-Trans has taken over the program, they've now switched things. So instead of just having a grant to the RPCs to go help all the towns that want it, they've said, no, we're not going to do that. We're going to have each town can contract with their RPC to do the support. And that's all completely billable to the grant. And so how we've decided to deal with that, just because having 23 little tiny contracts is very inefficient, is that, we've calculated what we think we spent with towns, from doing this for the last 5 years.
Right.
And we've just decided to go with a flat fee of $1,000, and which will include working with the town to identify where they should be doing the work to meet the municipal roads general permit, and then doing all the pre-documentation needed to submit to V-Trans to get authorization to do the work, and then to help do the wrap-up documentation.
So this will be an annual cost then, basically.
Can we put it in with the annual cost, or can it be separate because it's for Joe's Roads?
So it
Will
would
we see a
be,
different bill, will it be this year?
so it would be for the contract that you just got for this, what I'm calling year 6 of the program. So you have a contract, is it like $30-some thousand that the town is getting?
39, close to 40, I think.
Close to 40, okay, yeah, so they've upped the awards, fortunately. So what would happen is if the town wanted to work with NRPC to do the documentation work, we would bill you for doing it. You would get an invoice, and then you would include that with your reimbursement request, and you would get 80% of that back.
Yeah.
based on,
Yeah, this last time was 22 million that we were eligible for. I could be thinking about total project instead of the.
yeah,
But, yeah.
No, the thing is that on that right here,
30 million.
I mean, you came up with $1,000, but that's not based on mileage. I mean, some towns would have more miles than other towns.
yeah, no, I mean, we kind of looked at like the average of what we think we would spend, and that would include what our mileage would be.
But this is probably just a request from Enosburgh. Every town's gonna have a different number. or-
No.
She said
No,
flat fee,
we've-
flat fee.
Oh,
But not every town will do it.
oh, okay.
Yeah, so it's completely optional, so a town can do the documentation work on their own, and, you know, do all of that, so this is completely optional. But for towns who do wanna do it, we've decided just to do a flat fee for simplicity,
Gotcha.
and that way, just to keep our administration down, as opposed to tracking individual costs per town for however many towns want to do it. You know, and this kind of is that, so you're not cut off, we'll give you whatever service you need, and go from there.
This is for stuff you've already been doing.
Well, this would be for the new round.
Yeah.
And again, in an ideal world, we just would do what we've always done, where we had one big contract, and we just helped the towns.
Right.
And you never had to see any of this.
It's sort of like Sean was talking about with updating the.
Mitigation.
Same way, they could just bill FEMA and get a big grant for the whole state. And
A lot more
they said no
tracking
more of
and
that.
documentation.
Maybe when we do budgets, we should include
A
under the
line
line
item.
item of regional planning, and we should put a bump in there in case there's other things that are going to be covered throughout the year that the government is not paying.
Right, is that out of the general?
Well, the general fund pays their, based on per capita,
Yeah, and that's the assessment fee.
that's when the general fund.
This would be just what? So it could be a separate,
But
you know,
probably
like
should
the
include it.
municipal road permit that we have, that we've started like budgeting like
Right.
$150 a year for this
Mhm.
permit, that's to the state. This is sort of the same thing, only we go into the NRPC. I'm sure it'll be every year.
Yeah, if you wanted to have it.
This is for next year, this is for 23 work, fiscal year 23.
Yes, so this is for your grant with them runs July 1st, is going till June 30th this year?
Yeah. So the last, I don't have it with me, but the last contract that we signed for the grants and aid work just a couple weeks ago, or maybe it's a month ago now. So this is for that, 22 work's done. So this is for fiscal year 23. So then following year, I'm sure they'll just bill us again.
Yeah, if, again,
So-
optional.
Yeah, so basically, if we don't do this, and we're asking for your service, you're gonna have a separate bill every time you come. But this would cover everything all year round, and then a request we need to have done
Yeah, so,
for grant purposes.
and if he didn't sign it, we would just be like, well, you know, we're not signed up to do that work for you, but,
Right.
you know, we'll try to answer
But-
your question, but,
right.
you know, as a town, you could do the work, you can.
We wouldn't get
Trans-
so much of your support.
Yeah,
Sounds like a good deal.
Sounds like Joey would have more to do if we don't sign this.
Before V-Trans took it over, this is a very simple program, but they're complicating it for us. Of course.
Yeah.
and this is something like, it would be really, you know, depending on how, like, Joey knows how past years goes, and then this new system, I think it's really good, important for V-Trans to hear feedback directly from towns, if one system worked better than the other, just for future reference.
Text me if I can't get home, okay?
Boy, it's-
I know, I was thinking the same thing. I'm
Make sure you text me, I'm not gonna go
No,
through water, I don't do that.
I don't either.
Just camp out.
So I guess
Follow each other.
we should entertain a motion on this.
I'll move.
It's quite a motion.
San Albans Central with a Monday night touchdown for Enosburgh Fire. Again, this is San Albans Central with a Monday night touchdown for Enosburgh Fire. San Albans Central clear, 1900.
I'll second it.
Okay, so this is an agreement for municipal assistance to support the FY 23 municipal road grants and aid construction projects. Motion by Phil and seconded by Dean Wright. Any more discussion? If having none, all those in favor of accepting this, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say nay. And we pass this, so I can scribble on some more. Actually, there's more than one line. You want more than one signature?
No, just one is fine.
So that is for July 1st of this year through June of '23.
Yes. Yep. So it's for a project. I mean, I'm sure Joey has projects in his head, but it's not anything that's been started yet. Thank you.
Which leads me to the next thing, which is a packet for the work for fiscal year '22 that Bethany's looking at right now, that
Here,
we need a signature on. Just had to check it over.
yeah, I was just looking at the backup.
You see is that what they're looking for photos? Is that all right? Or they want them electronic?
So they're gonna want the invoice electronically.
Well, I can scan this.
Yeah,
whole
so
thing.
just scan it. Yeah, just
it
scan the
and
whole
send
thing.
it home.
Yep. No, but the documentation looked great.
So the photos are fine?
Yep.
They said one before and one after? There's
Yep.
two after.
And I included the before in the pre-construction documentation.
What's that? This is the grants and aid work for fiscal year '22. And on the third page, it's just a signature. It's a request for reimbursement for the work that we did. And we'll get $22,900 back because we spent over and above
Get 22,
the 22,900.
so this says 21, oh, 35, 75, so it's not that number.
No, should
So
be.
these two numbers are,
Yeah, I don't know what page you're looking at. Should be on.
there's page 3. All right, maybe it's not page 3, but it's in 30.
Probably right on the top, right on the front page, Larry, where it says the amount awarded for total grant funds. Yeah.
Oh yeah, 22
Grant
now.
award, 22 million.
Gotcha, yeah.
This is my inch scratch. All that 21 number, that's our local match. That's what we did.
Oh, that's because you exceeded your local, your required match.
Right, so. Yeah, we needed to have like a $28,000 project in order to get the 22.9, but we went above that.
Yeah.
Can I see it?
Yeah.
I wanna see some of
Um,
those before and after.
And just, and I know the NRPC blew up your agenda here tonight, your timing, but one thing I'll just mention in passing, since we're talking about the municipal roads general permit and projects that Joey's doing, is just to put a plug in that the state DEC has put out a proposed permit for the next 5 years, for the next 5-year cycle. And one of the things that has been proposed is that when you have slopes greater than 8%, that you're using fractured stone in ditches. And so, and I only bring that
So
up
does
because,
it roll away or something, or?
yeah, that it's gonna be that angular stone. I'm bringing that up for you and a few other towns, just because I know that you have your own stone source.
Is that supposed to catch sediment in between the cracks, or?
It's supposed to like stay in place, but I just wanted to raise that because I know that Joey's you have your own source of more rounded stone, and that Joey's been able to use that in a lot of projects.
Okay.
So I just wanted to kind of flag that as a potential thing that you might want to comment on in the permit.
Is that some of their, like they sent a draft of the, what do I want to say, permit that they're going to adopt? Is that what that is?
Yes, that's what that is, and
I didn't read that in detail, a lot of pages.
there is, and And I'm gonna try to schedule a road foreman meeting, and we're gonna talk about a TAC meeting as well, to talk about some of those Easter eggs.
Yeah.
But that was one that I knew would be, not for many towns, that's not relevant, because of where they're getting their stone, but I wanted to highlight it for you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Bill.
Yeah, thank you, Bethany. I've had to come to every meeting.
Only if she brings more money.
Yeah, that's,
All right, you got any Lovejoy or?
No, I think that, for sure.
All right. I'm not seeing,
Flood away.
my voice is, I don't know how much longer it'll go. We'll keep moving on. And did you want to do Jesse first, or you going to do the ambulance?
I want to go through Jesse first.
I wondered about
All
that.
right.
Yeah,
Wait,
I didn't-
get him out of here.
No.
Get him out of here.
Call back.
Get out of
You didn't even call
That
back?
in
You
minutes.
need the next time?
Yeah.
Really?
No,
Yeah, but I think that it's good though.
yeah. Yeah, I guess that's all I had.
All right, thanks, Joy.
Thank you.
Just take a little bit of rest, because if it keeps raining like this, you're gonna be pretty active tomorrow
Yeah,
or tonight.
yeah,
Hopefully not.
yeah, hopefully not.
We could really use the rain.
Says the people out west.
So they say.
it. Says the people that mow the lawns.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That little stream by my house, that little runoff has not stopped all summer.
Oh,
That
no?
thing usually is dried up for months.
Yeah.
It has not stopped.
They kept having us
This
on
is nothing
drought.
for me.
Sure.
Yeah, right next to
Moderate
it.
drought. It's like, this part of Vermont has had plenty
This is
all
a
year.
Bethany copy.
Yeah, oh, that's my call.
That's your-
So, armory update, I'm broken record here, but we're moving and inching forward to something. The asbestos and lead stuff is all done. Like I told you last time, the windows are all done. They dusted in there. I shouldn't say dusted, they cleaned. You can eat off the floor in there. If you have a second, you have a key, so you should go in and see it, because it's immaculate in there. They dug out the cracks, they did it in about less than a week. They did it. They had to go back in, re-wipe it, then take those wipes and send them in, and we passed and we're clear. So if you've driven by, the poison signs are all gone off the doors.
Nice.
Everything, so we're good in there. So everybody's been called back up from the bullpen, basically, the electricians. Merrill's gonna start here shortly, because first thing he's gotta do is put the windows back in. Electrician, Eric, I think I told you last time, we're gonna be kind of in a battle with Eric, because Eric is down at the Abbey project on 105. He's doing that, but he doesn't have much left. He had a lot of that run. He just stopped when he did, because we weren't sure with the state plans and the architectural plans and all that stuff. He didn't want to put boxes and outlets where we might have to make doors, so. But
Right.
a lot of that stuff is in pretty good shape. Richie, Rai is, actually I just got a message from him tonight. He was the one that was gonna cut all our doors and windows. Were in the concrete. The vault as well. He is booked up until November. So I was just thinking tonight when I was home, one of two things, either we wait till November for Richie, or with your guys' direction, if you want me to go to Harrison's or somebody like that and talk with them. Because basically it's cutting doors, cutting windows, and building the vault. Or we just wait until, Richie told me the first part of November he could be there, because I've been keeping all these guys in the loop, but he's kind of mid-project where he was, so he said he can be back with us. So what you have in front of you right now, that budget, so Laz, the architect, and I talked, kind of like, with what we had for plans, which were still, the plans we're almost done. We're still waiting on the fire marshal to finalize some of that stuff. Basically, we put what we need to do to number. And this is rough, this is rude and crude, this number is, but it just basically gives us a rough idea of what the heck we're gonna get into here as far as, repairs. Or not repairs, but updates. And a lot of this, we have the windows. He's got $38,000 in doors and windows. We've got a lot of the windows there. Yeah, there's some cutting and stuff. So, I mean, there's some of this we've already paid for.
This, yeah, okay. That's
Of
what-
this, it doesn't say, but if you read between the lines, and I asked Laz, of this 250,000, 110,000 of it is the vault itself. Building the vault, the door, and, you know, basically constructing what we need to do for that vault. So literally half of this is that. And I would say this is probably inflated just because, like Laz said, he goes, I'm just giving you a rough idea, you know, you may not do what we're thinking to do. So, like I said, with Merrill can get in there, he can do the windows, those front 3 offices, he can rip the paneling out, get those with sheetrock or however we wanna do. Yeah, the flooring can be done. There's stuff he can start doing. Eric knows, like I said, he's gotta put in a sub panel because we can't expand anymore in the regular panel box. He's gotta do that, that's what his focus is gonna be, so. Yeah, and furnace, the guys from Mountain Air, they're gonna come, Tyler, they're gonna come and put those new circulator pumps in. They're at Parago right now, they're doing a shutdown right now. He said they got another week, but next week they should be back in there doing those. Yeah, that's, like I said, we're moving, but we're inching. But again, if you guys are comfortable, we wanna keep going with Richie and wait until the 1st of November, or I can dig
Well, it's just a
around.
month away.
Well, that's
Right,
it,
it's really
6
not
weeks,
a-
really.
right.
It's not
My
like,
preference
yeah.
would be to wait for him because we kept him going.
right, he's local too.
We kept him
Right.
on the string for so long.
Well,
And he
yeah,
is local, and I do.
I don't know how much outside of like Harrison's work that this would entail, but we're we're having some work done and they're like 6 weeks
They're
behind.
probably just, right,
Probably the
exactly.
same thing, so.
Right.
Is there something that, like, Richie's working outside right now, and if maybe there's an indoor day? that
Right,
we
see,
can
and I don't
screw
know
over?
exactly, so I told everybody, well, the last one, like I said, was Aaron, I forgot to call Aaron this morning, but Aaron was in the middle of the Parago, so everybody knows that whenever they can just go in, so, yeah, that's, I mean, it really, I don't know how long it's gonna take once I can get Richie in there to look at the plans, because we got the specs through the structural engineer and figuring out, we'll have more once he looks at those and tells me what he has for a timeline too. So, yeah, that's, but I guess at this.
Is specialties, is that like your electrical or your, like what is that?
Yeah, I'm gonna say it's, yeah,
Okay.
and like I said, we've got most of the
The
electrical
electrical
done.
mostly was done.
Oh,
Mostly
okay.
done,
All
yeah.
the new lights were done last year,
Gotcha.
most of the wiring is done.
That's
Yeah,
great.
yeah.
Vermont Connections has to go in there and.
Yeah, I was gonna say Jai, I talked to Jai last week from Vermont Connections, he's supposed to reach out to me, we're gonna do a walkthrough and see what he can do. He can start putting in the network rack and those kind of things, so. Cause all that network cable is run and it's all kind of pigtailed out of the ceiling where it needs to go, so. So luckily, nothing really has to change drastically, so with those plans. But we're still just waiting on Jeff for that, when we went in that day to figure out if there needs to be an additional egress, we're still.
Oh, so he's still,
Laz and him are going back and forth on the code, basically, because Jeff says the code is for the door, Laz says no. The way I read the code, it says 100 feet and we're 56, so we shouldn't have to put an additional egress there.
I mean, it's definitely unfortunate if we do have to because,
In the cement building.
Right, that's what we said. And then to put that additional egress in that meeting room, there's baseboard there too. There's heating baseboard, so we'd have to take the baseboard out. I mean, it's just not that but it's still a pain in the butt, so.
then you'd have to do some outdoor work because if somebody has to escape through the
You
area.
can't just have
Can't
them
just do it
go
on the
out.
grass.
Yeah.
Right, you can't just go out, yeah, so we have to keep
And then that would
that.
have to be maintained and.
Right. And then the other thing, I don't know if we talked about this last time, but if you guys remember when we did the walkthrough with Bill and Jeff, and remember how, where the rec room is on the right when you walk in, they wanted to put the second egress into the foyer.
Yeah.
Laz kind of shook his head at that one too, because there has to be a certain distance between the two egresses.
Oh,
So
yeah,
you
yeah.
literally have one egress and then you have another
Yeah.
one there. I believe it's 25 feet it has to be, like angular, so you can't, Because I asked Liza, I said, how come you didn't just put it in the foyer? And he goes, I have to be a certain amount of feet from the other one. You can't just stack them on top of each other. So we really do have to do that second egress out to the parking lot, which isn't a big deal because it's just a straight shot to the parking lot. Where the one out behind, I mean, like you said, you'd have to sidewalk it
And then it'd probably have to be kept clear of snow and all
absolutely
that stuff.
snow, ice, all that. So that's what they're getting in a match
Yeah, because
back
say,
and forth.
say it's a burning building, you're sending them to another dangerous spot because now
Right.
there's fencing all around. How do they escape that?
How do they
parking lot?
get in there,
Yeah.
right?
You just
Yeah, it
dump
might
them
be
into.
even easier, like you say, up that parking lot,
Right.
a little sidewalk to the parking lot and it's done.
Right, so,
And that'll allow us to have more people too, right, if we did that?
no, it doesn't still change
Oh, it
any of
doesn't
that.
change
It's still, basically, it's still that whole, yeah,
Sprinkler system.
unfortunately.
Yeah.
Where's that, 300 for the sprinkler?
Right, it's $299. $299.
Still a decent number.
Alright.
And
Little
then,
free building.
Well, we're never gonna get to that number.
And I felt better when I saw this, when I sent the PDF, and I did one over, and I'm like, oh, what is it? And he put it, and I'm like, okay, like you said, for the building that we have there, and you know, we've got quite a bit of
And
this,
we've already paid on quite a lot.
you know, so I felt a little bit better.
Maybe another year or something.
because
with these numbers.
we budget on maintenance and repairs, some of these.
Mhm.
Because technically that's.
Cool.
Did you already tell us the rest when you think you would like to be, no?
I don't think there's any way to guess because it's kind of dependent on the vault.
Right, the vault is
Oh.
gonna be the biggest question,
Okay.
so, yeah.
I mean, it's, when they get to a certain point, if the bathrooms are done, electricity's done, certainly, rec can move over there. These ladies, that
Right,
they're
this
gonna be
could be
done
in
there.
there.
The building
Some
can
of
be used,
the
it's just
things,
I
yeah.
won't be able to move over because.
Can
the
we
loads
start
are-
taking some of your stuff that's in there now and
Yes,
just kind of
once-
see
yeah.
things you don't
Yeah.
use very often or whatever,
Exactly.
move those
Reseed,
over
yeah,
as we go a
exactly.
little bit here and there? I mean, if we got a
Just
day, you and I can grab
Once the
some
vault
stuff.
is done, then we can,
Mm-hmm. Move
Until then.
completely, yeah.
but it doesn't mean the building can't be used.
Yeah, right,
Once it's ready,
right.
once bathrooms are ready.
Yeah, now that we have the cleaning done, because like I said, if you go in there, I moved all the stuff. I went over one day, grabbed skids, put it on pallet.
Yeah,
I moved everything, and then they moved it again, and then they put it on plastic under it, and I mean, they really moved it, so.
It's shiny.
It's like.
Yeah, I can go check it out.
Yeah, and that's one thing I'm doing, I'm talking like, I'm gonna lock that big door and nobody drives in, because they were, and I
Yeah.
get it, it's easier to unload stuff, but no, we're
No,
gonna
there's
lock that
no
big
need for
door.
that. No.
Exactly, that was half of what the dirt, everybody backing in
Yeah.
and, you know, salting.
All crap from the trailers and stuff.
Right,
It's
right.
Not very good for that smell.
Yeah, and it's back to almost polished state in there, so, yeah. It's pretty amazing, I walked in and said, holy moly, it's a brand new building.
How's the ceilings look?
Everything, yeah, it's clean, I mean, it's amazing what they did in there, I mean, amazing for, you know, had a handful of guys, and like I said, I don't even know if it took them a week. Yeah.
Yeah, the inside doesn't quite match the outside now, like from the pictures, like it, you know, it just looks like is that gonna get color or like the
Oh,
outside?
The facade outside?
Yeah.
That's your,
brick is
yes,
the
go.
The brick is the brick.
No, you see the
It's
brick,
not gonna-
yeah, I had, there's no plans, there's nothing to
Yeah.
do the brick outside, so.
Well, you know, sometimes they paint brick or they, yeah.
No.
Oh, I've seen it. I wanted to do that to my fireplace. I was overruled.
That's hard.
I know,
Here it's a
I
mess
know,
when you do
but
a
it's
brick fireplace.
pretty.
Anything else?
No, that's it.
Perfect. All right, super.
Yeah, no, I got some other stuff, but executive.
Well, in
so,
executive.
Oh,
Yeah.
Oh,
I didn't realize you had to
Okay.
wait around.
Yeah.
Oh.
No, sorry, I'm sorry.
Moving on to Pierre.
Okay.
But I think you're,
I put you down in case you wanted to
Just
give an
keep going
ambulance
with
update. but
I don't wanna,
I-
yeah.
one.
And I've been telling all the guys that, like, I called Meryl and I called all of them and I said, don't think I'm like, hey, you guys gotta get back here. I know you guys have got your own stuff. And poor Eric Rainville, he thought he was gonna have our job and then he was gonna go from our job to the Abbey job. And the Abbey job got super delayed down there because they changed their mind and they hadn't poured the floors and all this stuff, so now both of us are ready at the same time. And
What are they doing down there? Are they adding another?
No, it's by the-
by the casino.
Oh, okay.
It's like a
didn't
food
know that.
distribution.
Storage.
I wondered what was going on there. Okay.
Yeah, it's kind of
It
neat
used
what they're
to-
doing.
See you then.
I bet
Alright.
it's like a buffet.
Yeah, they're bringing in
Shopping
food,
casino. Yeah.
breaking it down and making it, from what Eric told me, almost like TV dinners, for lack of a better term, and they're gonna distribute it to certain schools. And they talked about a bunch of different things. They were gonna bottle milk there, and that got changed, and so
Catering, yeah.
there's a bunch of weird stuff there, so. And then of
Sounds like
course,
a
the
food
day
truck or
passing,
something.
was hard, the direction was a little tough, Eric said, so, but they got it figured out, I guess.
So we're not in executive yet?
No.
Okay.
Here?
On how we're moving forward on the ambulance, on the new one that we just purchased, we've done the radio part, so we're gonna be
Waiting on licensing.
waiting on licensing, and then from there, or moving all the equipment into the new one. But, and then the rest of it will be in executive.
So, at that point, the other one's licensed,
Will no longer be.
do we wanna entertain possibility of advertising the other one, or?
I think,
I've had-
why do we wanna keep it? You can't use it.
Multiple, I've had somebody from New Jersey reach out wanting to know.
Oh, already?
Oh, no kidding.
Really?
Wants pictures of, pictures of the outside, inside, and the odometer. That's what they do, they refab.
Yep.
Oh, they refab.
Used
Yeah.
emergency
Mhm.
vehicles. And then we've had somebody over the mountain, I think that Kelly had a contact with, and Fiscal. So there's
Wow.
definitely interested people that want it, just have to decide
We
how
just have
much.
to come up with a price.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we should have a pretty decent price and then see what
Think so?
the offers come from that.
Move it.
Yeah.
Going to good sitting around.
You have to get 200 for a new one. They can just put a chassis into the other. Cause I'm sure somebody, a refab company probably can get a chassis for 60,000 or so. All of a sudden they have a new ambulance and not a lot of cost.
So we go into executive?
Let's do our minutes unless you guys did while I was gone.
No.
Yeah, we did.
Is this for
There's two of
executive
them.
too?
So we got minutes for August 22nd, which we'll do first.
Sorry, Larry, here. This
Don't
is-
sit next to her, she takes paper.
I thought I gave them all back. Yeah, that, I don't know if that's,
That's executive too, because
Oh,
that's
okay.
This is?
salary.
Oh, okay. The August, we're doing the August 22nd minutes first.
The only thing I can see wrong with this one is we get out at 10:15.
but you can't amend that, so.
Let's make sure today's doesn't really say.
If it does, we're probably all gonna be
10:15.
stuck in town because of the way the rain is going.
Oh.
Won't flood by my house
You
anymore.
say, don't say that.
You'll be real flooded.
Oh yeah, you'll be flooded.
Yeah, yeah. If I'm flooded, you guys are, yeah.
Coming from Hannaford.
Yeah. I'm not too worried. The river's been pretty low.
On the upper house one.
Did I word it badly?
I don't know. We really didn't have a discussion with the upper house, did we?
I don't remember. I'm trying to remember.
On our,
I didn't think I was rude.
well, no, but it's, maybe it was just brought to our attention that there was an event going on and there was,
Are you on the 22nd or the other one?
I'm on the 6th.
Okay.
Oh.
He said we're working on the 22nd
Oh,
first. All
well,
right.
sorry. All right.
I didn't see much route on the 22nd.
Much.
Looked good.
Oh, goodness.
On the box culvert grant, was that specific?
It is specific to Tyler Branch,
Right.
but it hasn't started, won't start till next year.
No, but maybe that's what we should state, where?
I don't have the actual number, but it's on the Tyler Branch, near Catherine Fletcher.
We just may wanna, just,
Okay.
yeah.
I don't know, but did we ever decide on that though, the rental, or was that like still an ongoing?
Which one?
Larry
Oh,
explained
yeah.
that the board feels
I-
that any rentals should go through.
That was probably more of my own personal feeling, but we didn't, I mean,
No, we haven't furthered that, and they're not coming in for a few more
Okay.
weeks.
Okay.
No, that was just something that was said.
whether we manage it or they manage it, I just think that the fees should be segregated differently,
Okay, so the August 22nd one,
appropriated differently.
I move, you know, other than that correction, I'll move that one.
I'll second it.
You're talking a correction on box culvert
Yeah.
designation,
Yeah, just that.
area for designation. So Pierre made a motion to accept the August 22nd minutes, Phil seconded that motion. Any more discussion? Having none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Those opposed say nay. August 22nd minutes is approved. We move to September 6th minutes.
Now you can go at it here.
Attack me now.
Bakersfield had a tractor chipper that like Joey was talking about
Oh,
on the
really?
back road. It may have been somebody's own personal, they might have hired somebody to do it, but they were doing a back road, you know. Yeah, you can
I should mention that.
either
Joey's
brush
gonna
hog
be
on the
called
side or you can turn it to,
Yeah.
they were doing some branches and so
I
it's just a
found
small
one the other day
tractor.
that goes around the bucket with a tractor.
Bucket.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's right on the, you take the bucket off and the whole mower goes right on the bucket. I showed it to Joey, but.
Yeah, so then they can lift the bucket up and down for
Yeah.
height and
Right.
What? What did you do? I don't see anything. Pierre's looking
I
at it.
don't.
It's
Oh,
not,
yeah.
But I don't know if you'd be able to get over the
I
guardrails
just,
with it.
I don't know, I just wanted,
You know what I
to
On the
give,
20, on the 6th, you think there's something bad there?
I just wanted to give, all parties the opportunity to express their concerns, because even though
Yeah, you read it.
we said,
On the 6th?
Oh, whoops.
I don't think I don't think
I don't- I have
I
to
wish you would
read
just
it.
speak.
Yeah. Give
Try
us
not
a
to beat around the
call.
bush. I don't understand what you're saying.
Hang on.
For what discussion? This?
yeah. I don't know, it's just that I would look at it as the Opera House would come back and say, who are you guys to tell us what not to do or to do?
It's our building.
I know, but, you know, and how come there wasn't a discussion?
Oh,
I'll leave it the way it is. I'm happy.
I'm glad you're out.
I'm glad you're out.
so I haven't said that, do I?
Yeah. I'll move.
Pierre made the motion to accept.
I'll second.
Just second the motion.
I can just hear her now.
Any more discussion? Having none, all those in favor of approving September 6 minutes, signify by saying aye.
Alright.
Like,
All those opposed say nay. The minutes are approved for September 6. Alright, so according to my agenda, we are now to our last portion, which is the executive session.
I'll make a motion to go into executive.
Is this for personnel?
It's multiple things. It's kind of a contract issue, personnel, yeah,
Okay.
couple personnel issue.
Jessica made the motion to go in executive. Do you have a second?
Second it.
Dean seconded that motion. Any more discussion? Having none, all those in favor going to executive session, signify by saying aye.
Alright.
All those opposed say nay. It's approximately 7:30 or 7:33. We're going to